Hi, my name is Paige and welcome to my channel and welcome to video 3 of this week, where I'm trying to give you all of my Clear My Shelves footage that I have been holding on to for so long at this point. We are wrapping them all up. So this is video 3, as I said, and this one is the one I'm most excited about because we are reading all queer historical stories. And I love that for me. I love that for me so much. But before we begin, let's talk numbers. In my last Clear My Shelves video, we ended on 119 books. So we are looking to get below that number by the end of this video, and I think I can do it. I don't think I've been holding on to this footage quite as long as my previous 2 books, but it still has been quite a long time that I have been working through this, because initially I was just going to do queer historical romances, but then a few of these books, I say a few, but I just mean one of these books is more a queer historical fantasy with romantic elements. So I feel like I couldn't quite call it all queer historical romances. But anyway, I did also really try and pick different authors for each of these books just to see what's out there and try different authors. Some of them I have never read from before and some of them I have. So let's go back to Past Me and talk about the first book in this video. Okay, I have officially finished Unmasked by the Marquess, I think that's how you pronounce it, by Cat Sebastian, and it was a good time. Not a great time, it was just a solid romance, nothing amazing, it didn't do anything special. So in this one we have Charity Church, and she is disguising herself as another person because I don't know if she worked for him and his sister, but in his will he didn't quite leave all of his stuff to his sister unless she was married, I think is what the catch was. And so Charity is pretending to be Louisa's older brother Robert, and she's trying to get Louisa married off so that she can inherit everything that she needs. And then after that happens, Charity is just going to make Robert disappear and leave Louisa with all of the funds, is essentially what the plan is for them. And along the way, Charity ends up meeting Alistair as Robert, and Alistair and Robert start to have a little bit of a attraction towards each other, and then things go from there. And it was pretty fun, I will say. Alistair is not the most interesting character. He thankfully isn't like a devious rake who's going to like ruin a woman's reputation like in most historical romances, you know? That seems to be the hero's motif in a lot of romances. This one, he was just kind of very particular about how things are supposed to be, very set in his ways and wanting things to be proper because his father had done some not so amazing things with his life. So he was just a little bit stuffy and he wasn't the most interesting. So when their romance came about, I wasn't the most fond of it, but I also didn't hate it either. Like, it ended up being cute in some aspects. I really enjoyed the side characters, or Louisa and her love interest that she had later on. So I don't know if there'll be a book with them because we kind of saw all of what happened with their relationship in this one, but I am intrigued by this and I will definitely continue on with this series. I said it in a previous video about this one, but I am just so confused why this series doesn't have book 2 as an audiobook. I can't find it anywhere. I've looked on Audible, I've looked on Script, I've looked on Hoopla, and book 2 is just like nowhere to be found audiobook wise, but book 3 is. So I might skip around and just go to book 3 because I'm not going to physically read book 2 yet. I'll get around to it eventually when I run out of audiobooks, but that's not anytime soon. So I'm just confused on that one. I might have to keep scouring for it, but where's book number 2? Where is it? What's wrong with it that the audiobook got like pulled? I don't get it. So that's my thoughts on this one, and let's read a little bit more Cat Sebastian. Alright, I said Cat Sebastian. I ended up going with an Olivia Waite. I have compiled a list of all of the books I am trying to currently read in the month, and I put them in order of length of time, and I realized that this one, even though it's slightly longer than some of the other ones, it's the next book in a series. And since we have the weird thing going on with book number 2 in the Cat Sebastian series that I'm reading, it's just not available on audiobook, I figured I'll go with book number 2 of another series that I could find the audiobook for. So I ended up really liking this one. This one is about Penelope and Agatha. Agatha is a widow and she runs a printing press, and one day she finds bees in her printing press, and Penelope comes and saves the bees. She's like a beekeeper and she's really sweet and really kind, and Penelope is married to a man who's like always away at sea because he's like a whaler, whatever that means. I think I know what it means, and I don't want to know what it means because that sounds really sad, but he is gone for 2-3 years at a time, only comes back on rare occasions, and her and Agatha start to form a bit of a friendship and start to learn other secrets about each other's lives and start to grow some feelings for each other, even though they are living in the early 1800s and can't really be together. So it was sweet, a little drawn out because there's like other plot points that are happening, which I enjoyed, that it wasn't just romance focused. We see Agatha's son and some of the things that he's doing, and a group of women and even some men who are trying to like call for a revolution and stuff. They just like are very progressive, and so we're seeing some of the things that are happening with that, and some mean characters who are trying to get other people arrested and hurt and stuff. So there's other drama outside of the relationship, which honestly the relationship's not very dramatic, which I adore. So I really enjoy how Olivia Waite writes romances. I just feel like she writes healthy ones, and she writes ones where these people genuinely care about each other's dreams and ambitions, and they understand where the other person's coming from. Like, I just like the communication in Olivia Waite's romances that I've read so far. I read The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics last year, and it was so good. I might jump back to A Cat Sebastian. I might go to the next Olivia Waite in this next clip. I don't know yet. I'm going to be reading another book entirely for an entirely different video right now, so I will check in with you when I check in with you. Okay, so I just want to say that going from this wonderful masterpiece of a book to this was not the move. I should have gone on a different journey with Alexis Hall, because this was beautiful. This was everything that I want in a romance, and this was kind of tough to read. So if you have also only read A Lady for a Duke, I would not recommend jumping into something fabulous. It is not wildly different, but it is different enough that I had to actively convince myself that I wanted to finish this book. I don't think I was really at risk of DNFing it, but I had to remind myself that this was a comedy. This was, I think, intended to be a comedy, where this one was funny at times, but it definitely did feel way more serious, and it had harder hitting topics in it than I believe this one did. So this is not a book that I read in this vlog, so I'm going to stop talking about this one now and just focus on something fabulous, which is about a man named Valentine who is a duke, and he at the very beginning is proposing to Arabella Tarleton because he has been promised to her since he was young by her father and his father. Like, they planned for them to get married, but both of their fathers have now died, and Valentine is just trying to uphold this promise that he made to her family. So he proposes to her, and she is not cool with it. She thinks that her life should be more than having to marry a duke and being owned by a duke, which is fair, makes sense. She wants to have more agency in her life, but she decides to run away. And her twin brother, Bonnie, comes to Valentine's house, wakes him up, and says, "You have to help me go and find my sister, and you two need to work this out and get married." That's the gist of the story. So we are on a hunt for Arabella, and that is the biggest problem of this book, because Arabella is the worst character in all history. She's such an awful person. She's such an awful sister. She's just like an awful human being, because she puts so many people in danger. She threatens people's lives. She makes up stories. She makes up stories to the point where she can get people hurt or killed, and she doesn't really seem to care because she just wants what she wants. She is so selfish and I could not stand her. And I also had a hard time with Bonnie too, because, and I guess I'm lying because I am going to go back to this one, because I thought that this book would be similar in feeling to this one, where it was going to be a little bit more serious, a little bit more realistic, and that wasn't the case. So Valentine being very pragmatic and noble in what he is trying to do is him being a bad guy, is him being the villain of the story, and we are supposed to root for Bonnie and Arabella, who just aren't understanding his point of view and understanding the duty that he is trying to uphold, the promises that he is trying to fulfill. So it was just frustrating because I like reading books where things are a little bit more realistic and aren't so wild and all over the place. But in this one, Bonnie and Valentine end up starting to form a romance, which makes things a little bit troublesome because Valentine is still engaged to Arabella in a way, kind of, sort of. And I thought it was going to end in a very specific way that was more realistic to its time, and it did not take that route. And that was also just a little strange to me. I just wasn't really in the mindset to be reading something so goofy and chaotic where I wanted this 2.0, and we got something entirely different. So it's really not the book's fault, I don't think, but I feel like a lot of people who have read this felt similarly because the reviews are not great. People don't like Arabella, people don't really like Bonnie either, because they just feel like those twins are very selfish, just not grounded in reality whatsoever, and the things that they put Valentine through are rough. And he was just trying to be a good guy. He was just trying to be a good guy in the time period that they were in, and the things that he attempted to offer both of them, the compromises he tried to make, were very progressive for the time period that it was in. And it just didn't make sense how Arabella and Bonnie reacted to a lot of his compromises and plans for what he wanted to do with his life. So it bothered me. I read one comment saying that they didn't like how a character who was just trying to be normal, who was just trying to fit into society and stay quiet, live a quiet life, not do anything too outstanding or ambitious, was made to look like the villain. He was so rational and he was trying his very best, and maybe he was mean at times. He did have like a few moments where the things that he said were very, very rude, but he was just trying to do what he was raised to do, be the type of person that he was raised to be. He didn't have any tragic background or anything, and he was made to be the villain because he was just trying to do right by these two people and make sure that they were taken care of, that they had all of the money that they needed. He was just trying to do literally the best by them, and they thought that he was a villain because of it, and it was kind of infuriating. So I like Alexis Hall's writing style. I like the humor at some points, and the best parts are definitely when things get very serious and it's very romantic and sappy. Those are good parts, but this book just didn't meet the marks. So I gave this book 3 stars because I didn't hate it. I was able to get through it, and I might read the next book because the reviews are much better and it follows a very different character, and it seems like Arabella might be of the past in that next book. Maybe not dead, but like she's forgotten. We will see though. But yeah, that's a bummer because I loved A Lady for a Duke so much. I loved it so much. I had really high hopes for this, but I'm sure that there's something else by Alexis Hall that I will like, and I will just have to try it out. I've heard really great things about boyfriend material, if that's what it's called, so I'll probably eventually get around to reading that one. But yeah, that's how I felt. I understand why the ratings were a little bit lower on this one. But yeah, I've been rambling for way too long, so I'm gonna let you go, and I will see you in whatever next clip happens right now. So unfortunately, I did not love this book. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't work for me. And I really, really, really thought that this book of this entire video was going to be the one that I liked the most. I just felt like it had been recommended to me by a few people and also compared to books that I loved, that this shocks me that it wasn't one that I loved. It really had everything that I would love about it. I do love historical stories in general. I feel like I have always loved them, but I've felt myself starting to get a little burnt out with them in the past year. And I think that might have contributed why I didn't love this. But for typical Paige, I love historicals, I love queer romances, and I love fantasy. And this has all of that. And I couldn't get into it. I feel like I spent the majority of this book thinking about DNFing, wondering if I should just DNF, wondering if it was going to get better or if I should just DNF. Like, I literally thought all the way until the very end. I had 16 minutes left of my audiobook and it went back to Libby. And I just questioned if I should even push through reading for 16 minutes to finish it out. Like, I was just not invested. So basically this one is about Robin, who is a non-magical person, and he gets assigned a job in an office building, and a man named Edwin comes in and basically tells him like magic is real. He's gonna be this magical liaison looking through documents and stuff to figure out if there's any oopsies of people messing up and revealing their magic, yada yada. The job doesn't really matter that much. But then I think the next day or that very same day, somebody who is looking for something attacks Robin and curses him. And so Edwin is trying to help Robin be uncursed so that then eventually he can take away Robin's memories of this whole situation and let Robin go on with his life. And they're trying to figure out what this curse is, who cursed him, how to undo the curse. And it had a really good setup, but I just didn't care. There was something about this writing that was just too quick, too many words, too much happening. It was very plot forward, and we know I love characters, so I think that was also another reason I didn't love it. But I really wish that I did. I feel like maybe I need to give this another chance in the future, but I couldn't care about these characters. It also happened in the span of like 2 weeks, I want to say. So their romance also didn't do it for me. I've talked about it many times that I need a very long, drawn out romance. I need them to be friends first, and that didn't happen here. So it just had a lot of negatives for me, even though the whole premise should have been a win. It wasn't, and I'm bummed about it. So I definitely will not be continuing on with this series unless I go back to it in the future and try it one more time and see if I love it better then. But I'm mad. I'm sad. Not so much mad. I'm sad because I thought I was going to love it. And when I think I posted in Discord that I was going to read it and somebody said it was their like top of the year. Ugh, it just rips my heart out that it's not mine. So unfortunate. But we have one more book in this video and hopefully she'll be a winner. So I guess I will check in with you when I have read that. We have made it to the last book of this video, and I have officially read The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. And I won't lie and say that I remember all the details, but I will say that I had fun when I read it. I remember throwing on the audiobook and packing my bags before I went and visited my friends, and I had a really fun time just listening to the story. It was pretty interesting. So it had two main characters, Thomasina, or Tommy, and Philippa, and this did happen to be the second book in a series, so we got a little bit of Tommy's background, but it felt a little bit like a recap of what would have happened in book 1. I didn't know that this was book 2, so I was a little confused on like the character relationships, but this plot happened to be that Philippa is in a family that really wants her to get married off really well, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but there's this man that they want her to marry, and she knows that he's like kind of a scummy guy, that he has done something with some sort of like book and decoding of some book, and he's been lying about it, so she wants to expose him. And Tommy and Tommy's family are kind of like Robin Hoods in a way, where they go and like help people for the betterment of others. And so after Tommy and Philippa meet up, Tommy agrees to help Philippa with exposing this man, but all along Tommy has also had a crush on Philippa from afar. So I think I jumbled that up a little bit, but that is what I remember from it that stuck out the most, and I enjoyed it. I really liked Tommy in this. I was like swooning at some of the things that Tommy would say, so I felt like she was a very good love interest. I was just a really big fan of that. But my biggest complaint with this book is that this cover does not match these characters whatsoever. Tommy is somebody who does not like to dress like very feminine, wants to just kind of wear whatever she feels the most comfortable in, and she does tend to take on a lot of different disguises and stuff. So this is just like not a good representation of what the book is, and I didn't like that. But overall, I thought the story was fun. If I would have known that there was a book 1, I probably would have read that first. And I feel like if I ever see this like on sale, or the rest of the series on sale somewhere, I'll probably go ahead and grab it because I liked the writing. I thought it was funny, but it's just not the most memorable thing I've ever read. So I think I gave it like 4 stars, maybe 3. I think it was a 4-star. But yeah, it was a good time. Nothing majorly amazing, but I did love Tommy. Tommy was perfect. I would love to be with a Tommy. So we have finally finished all of these books, so let's go to the outro of this video. And here they are, the beautiful 5. We had Unmasked by the Marquess. I still don't know how to pronounce this one, by Cat Sebastian. We had Olivia Wade's The Care and Feeding of Wampus Widows, Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall, A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk, and The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. And I would have to tell you that out of these ones, I think The Care and Feeding sticks out the most. I really did love this one quite a bit, and I think Olivia Waite is who wrote The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics, I believe, if I am not mistaking her for somebody else. And I love that story too. I feel like this one just so stinking good. But I think the love interest that I loved the most was Tommy from The Perks of Loving a Wallflower. I just can't get over it. But I did just read this one a couple weeks ago, so maybe that's why it's still lingering in my mind. But yeah, I did enjoy these. Don't super recommend Something Fabulous though. I love Alexis Hall's A Lady for a Duke, which I probably already talked about a million times in this, but this book was just not great. It wasn't great. The rest of it, pretty good though. So, as I said, last time we were at 119 books, and this brings us down to 114 books. So we are still moving in the correct direction, and I am super eager to read more from these authors and see what else they put out in the historical romance world, or just any other queer stories that they put out. I just would love them all. So let me know if you have read any of these, if you felt similarly to me, and I'm gonna let you go because I have 2 more videos that I need to film for you all so that you can have them for this week. So I hope to see you in tomorrow's video, and let me know if you have been here all week long for all of these ones. But anyway, I'm gonna go now. See you later.